faith, spiritual values, moral issues, government, economy, education, work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon Howse.
And welcome. Glad you are with us on this. What is today? Today, June 12th, 2025. Glad you guys are with us. I'm going to be joined by our reporter on the ground out of Israel, Aaron Lavarco. As most of us by now know, there are reports that America, they have sent notice to their embassy workers all throughout the Middle East. Any of those embassies that are within striking distance from Iran, they have been asked to vacate, to evacuate. There are continued reports coming out that Israel is preparing to strike Iran. President Trump last night was asked about it while leaving the White House, headed to the Kennedy Center for a performance, and while he was at the Kennedy Center, both times replying that it was not looking good, and that, yes, they are moving some people out of the area because it could be a dangerous region soon. So, is Israel about to go it alone? We'll talk about that with Aaron Lavarco. But are Americans prepared for what, well, it could mean, whether Israel goes alone or not? Now, there are reports that Israel cannot go it alone, that Israel does not have what it takes to go after those bunkers, deep underground bunkers. The nuclear program of Iran is said to be well underground. We have discussed that many times with other people, David Pine, Colonel Rob Maness, and of course, also with our reporter on the ground in Israel, Aaron. So if they cannot strike these deep underground bunkers in which Iran holds its nuclear program, it sounds like they have to have the assistance of the United States of America. Now, do Americans again understand what it could very likely happen if America is actively involved in this strike on Iran's nuclear program? Remember now, we have coming up on Saturday, June 14th, that group, NoKings.org, they have the map of all the places where they're going to be holding protests. What is likely to happen? Should, let's say, a DC time or American time, Friday, Israel hits Iran. What would happen in America on Saturday with all those protest sites? Woof, one could only guess, right? Now, let's add to it. Last night in New York, we had several police cars that were put on fire. And apparently, according to the New York Post, authorities found unexploded devices that did not go off. Folks, now we're talking about explosives. Now we're getting again into the either of international or domestic terrorism. Somebody's fooling around with explosives. That's taking it to another level. Torching cars is bad enough. Now you're starting to bring in explosives. This should be a clear indication of where this seems to be going. Then we add in the fact that there are numerous reports that the FBI has arrested someone for supplying bionic shield gear to LA rioters. Bionic shield gear to LA rioters. I'm going to talk more about this individual tonight. The individual is said to be part of a radical Latino Brown Berets group. Have you ever heard of that group? The Radical Latino Brown Berets, the Brown Berets. He is said to be part of this group, founded in the late 1960s, this group. And he is reportedly now under arrest. We'll get to that in greater detail tonight. So, we've been warning about some of these groups coming into the country. Some of these folks, even Americans, have, well, going back many years, we reported the FBI saying some of them were being trained by terrorists in Venezuela to come back to America. So let's make sure we have all of this in context when it comes to America taking part with Israel on any kind of strike on Iran. Preparations are apparently underway in Israel, including reports that the hospitals are getting ready for mass casualties. Mass casualties. That's the reports we're reading coming out of the Middle East, particularly out of Israel, that Israel is getting ready. We also see that the Knesset almost collapsed, but apparently that has been saved. It had to do with the ultra-Orthodox and their opposition to their young people being called up in the draft, called into the IDF. Supposedly that has been stayed off, at least for now. Very unstable region, to say the least, in his government, Netanyahu, and outside in Israel and outside of Israel. Joining us now is our reporter on the ground in Israel, Aaron Lavarco, as we're live at 1:06 p.m. Central here on June 12, 2025. Aaron, great to see you again. What do you make of my opening statements?
Well, let me pick up what you said last about unstable Israel and unstable region. Absolutely. Things are very shaky from all different angles, Brennan. The government, we are on edge right now. You can feel the tension. The big question is, well, actually, it's not one question, it's a number of questions. When, who, how? Will it be Israel that attacks Iran? Will it be Israel and America? Will it be America? How much do we need America? All these questions are being fired around the news. How will Iran respond? And so it's causing a lot of anxiety. I was actually reading the news about sleepless nights. Lots of people are finding that they cannot sleep. So a lot of tension, a lot of stress, a lot of waiting. Brandon, we've been waiting for a long time for this to happen, to get to this place. We're at this place. It almost looks like it's going to go ahead, but I've just been reading in the last few hours that Donald Trump is still open to a negotiation breakthrough with the Iranians. There's on this coming Sunday, this will be the next round. And he's still holding out with some hope. I hope that he is just being genuine, and good on him if that's the case. But my take of the situation is that I think he genuinely thought, without being naive, that the Iranians were kind of serious, to some degree serious. I wonder, he's the master of the deal. The Iranians have been waging in these negotiations like the old ancient merchants that the Iranians are, at the markets, at the ports, trading. And they've been doing it in a very cunning, devious, buying time way. I wonder if Donald Trump has woken up and maybe he's realized he's been duped. Maybe he realizes he's been deceived. Or maybe all along he's been going with it just to see, just to give them a chance. We don't know exactly what is in his mind, but we are at the midnight hour, and unless there's going to be some dramatic turnaround, all the triggers are going to start to get fired. Mm-hmm. We don't know what that means, but it's quite tenuous.
Yes, absolutely. Now, I know you get this. You're in Israel, you're in a rough neighborhood, you have kids in the IDF, and your family and friends and members are all around you have kids in the IDF. They all have, I think, required 2 years of service? That's required, right?
3 years for the men, 2 years for the women.
Okay. So I understand your desire, you need help, because reports are that you guys can't do this alone, that you need America's bunker-busting bombs to get deep underground to the nuclear program of Iran. Is that true?
So on the face value, it's totally true. From what the experts, the scholars, the strategists are saying, definitely only the Americans have the more superior bunker buster bombs, the quality of planes that are needed. However, we all remember what happened with Lebanon, with Hezbollah. That was 20 years in the planning. That pager operation that took out, or at least blew up, 3,000 Hezbollah operatives. Who knows? If it took 20 years planning to do that, the Iranian situation is far more serious. We don't know. We don't know what the Israelis have got planned. Let's hope they have something planned. It could be something in the cyber area. It could be something from the sea. It could be something internal that we've already got set up. We don't know. But on one hand, it's exciting because the excitement of seeing what happened with Hezbollah and with the leaders and with Nasrallah. So anything's possible. But going back to your question, as far as an all-out combat goes, yeah, we definitely need the help of the Americans. And that's another question. When the first trigger is pulled, what's it going to look like? Is it going to be an all-out, let's go for it, we've got no time to waste, let's just do it quick? Or will it be a kind of a jab, a couple of jabs like in a boxing ring to feel out your partner to see what kind of response there's going to be? All these questions and more are being asked. So if we decide, and the Americans with us decide, that's it, we're going to go all out, well, then I would imagine that the Americans are going to go in with us. But that's where the strategists, they are making these plans.
Aaron, are you aware that we have a bunch of protests planned for Saturday, American time? We can show the map again. NoKings.org is the organization that has placed this map, and there it is. So again, I probably need to have you on TV tonight. I need to have Annie Cyrus on. I need to have David Pine on. Probably need to have Colonel Rob Maness on. There's so much to talk about. But I'm really worried for my country because the timing of this, I don't know how to put it. It's almost surreal that this is all happening and that there could be a strike on Iran at the same time. Say on Friday, American time, you're about to have all of these cities with these riots. I'm afraid this could be a very dangerous situation for terror cells, Hezbollah, Hamas, IRGC, to use these and infiltrate these, if indeed they see America as the great Satan. Now, I know Benjamin Netanyahu likes to say that a lot to America. You know, we're the little Satan. You guys are the great Satan. I think some of that may be true. I think some of it is emotional manipulation to try to convince Americans you better hang with us because if you don't, they're coming after you because they see you as a bigger target than we are. You know, I guess we don't have to really debate that. We are a target. But reality is this could all be happening at a time where if America throws in with Israel on these strikes, and say on Friday, U.S. time, and then Saturday morning, we have these riots starting, this is not good. This is not good. The timing is kind of surreal. Your thoughts?
Brandon, you know what? There is being a conspiracist, and there's also being a realist.
Yes.
And you know what? In this case, there could be a fine margin, and we don't know.
Well, I mean, the music's playing, so let me ask you, think about this. You don't think there's any chance that your government planned this and kicked this rhetoric up to go strike, knowing that this 14th was coming in America, June 14th? Because if somebody in your deep state let October 7th happen for whatever agenda, I have to wonder if somebody in the deep state in Israel, like we have our deep state here, are maybe these sides are working together. Are the Mossad and the CIA working together to put America in a pincher and Israel? He'll answer on the other side. Don't go away.
I'll tell you one little quick story. We had a Worldview Weekend client who lived in California, lost their house. Very wealthy guy. He didn't use Bitcoin. He came over here, drove to Arizona with $286,000 worth of his gold because he had no money and no house available. His bank was shut down because he couldn't have access to his bank account.
Was this during the fire? Was this during the fires?
During the fire. Didn't have his driver's license. He lost it. The state wouldn't give him a new license because he had no active mailing address. Real mess. So he came to Arizona to buy a house. He's moving everything over. He said, the only thing I got in my possession that I can get liquid with right now is my gold. I gave him a check for $286,000, and guess what? I didn't need his social, his driver's license. Sort of smiled, and I said, you know, I know you and Brandon talked about how this worked, but boy, this is great. I feel good. I got my money. Nobody bothered me, and I'm protected, and it's private.
Just simply go to worldviewgold.com, fill out the form, worldviewgold.com. All back. Glad you're with us. And of course, a lot of us are thinking about the tragedy, the death toll now in India. Lots of people killed today on that flight that took off. I don't know what it was, a bird strike or if something happened with the flaps. It just couldn't seem to get lift. Maybe many of you are watching the video footage of the man that walked away from the whole thing. I understand it obviously wouldn't show the pictures, but apparently there are body parts on the streets. And people, of course, are taking pictures of it and all. But wow, what a horrific situation out of India, thinking and praying for all those involved as that flight was headed back to Great Britain. Joining me is Aaron Levarco. He's our reporter on the ground in Israel, brought to you by our foundation, worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. We also, by the way, just have, I won't like to spend a lot of time on this, but this is a California Senator Alex Padilla forcibly removed from after being barging into a DHS Secretary Noem press conference on ICE riots. So he's been removed. This thing is ratcheting up at all levels. We have Jimmy Kimmel talking about President Trump being mentally ill. We have the mayor of Chicago talking about Trump being ill. There seems to be a narrative that's now going out there, and that is that President Trump is ill, that he's mentally ill, he's unhinged. And of course, again, what we're all concerned about as Americans is that these sides are going at each other. And I have to be reminded, folks, that we're in the pincher, right? We're in the pincher. This is what the enemies of America do. They pit the left against the right. They pit Americans against each other, and they get us in the pincher, all for their own benefit. Now, I have to wonder if the Mossad and CIA, there's a deep state, folks, in Israel, okay? There's a deep state in America. They seem to let October 7th happen, somebody in that deep state, because we know that some of those gals were saying and trying to send messages up the ladder that there's movements here. There's something to be concerned about with Hamas. Apparently, they were ignored. Did somebody in the deep state of Israel or the deep state of America want that to happen? Now, why all of a sudden this talk by Israel now when we have this 14th coming up with all these protests in America? Is this to also put pressure on America? Because we don't need something happening in America. But I think we know that a lot of politicians and those in the deep state like to use chaos and catastrophe to invoke something from the American people. Don't forget, it was some of the generals in Operation, what was it called? Operation Northwoods, where they walked into the Kennedy Oval Office and said, hey, we could stage some terrorist attacks in southern Florida, blame it on the Cubans, and then that would get Americans to have the stomach to invade Cuba. So just everybody understand, you don't have to agree with the left. The left doesn't have to agree with the right. To remember something, they want us in a pincher. Enemies, foreign and domestic, want us at each other, and then they want to carry out things in America to provoke a response and to change the will of the American people from being what it is right now. We don't want to go to war. We don't want to go to war. This being emotionally involved and angry and going to war, which again is going to be very detrimental to not only us, but a lot of innocent civilians. Let's not forget we got a lot of innocent civilians in Iran, a lot of Persians who want liberty and freedom. So it's the regime we're worried about. It's the regime of China, not the people of China. And this goes on and on and on, right? There's a lot of people suffering in Venezuela under that communist regime. There's the regimes that are the problem, right? All right, with that being said, I'll come back to reset it. Aaron, is there any chance this timing is not coincidental, but our CIA, your Mossad, sees these rallies coming? We have a billionaire supposedly funding it. This whole thing to me seems highly orchestrated by big money and intelligence groups, internal, external, for this all that be happening now. I don't find it coincidental at all. What say you?
Yeah, it's really interesting, Brennan. Over the last few days, the people from the left, former Prime Minister Ehud Barak, one of the leaders of an opposition party, Avigdor Lieberman, who is primed to be a potential prime minister in the future, they are upping their rants against Netanyahu. There was talk, I woke up this morning, and there was news that all the opposition parties They are rallying together. They want this government pulled down. So that's the case here at home.
Well, let's stop right there if we can. There are those that want this government in America pulled down. There are those in your country that want your government pulled down. So how do we know that both Netanyahu and Trump aren't walking into a trap?
Yeah. That what you were talking about before, all these places with the protests, this smells fishy. This definitely, the timing of it definitely smells fishy. If I was the head of the Homeland Security or one of the top Inland Security officers, I would definitely have my heckles up. I would definitely be ramping up the security. This is what these people should be paid to do, Brannon. You and I, we're not paid to do that. These people are paid to do that. And so I would not put it past them. Look, I'm an optimist by nature. I don't like going where what we call in Judaism the evil eye, where we speculate things that could be evil. But being a realist, knowing the real world out there, knowing that the days are evil, absolutely, I would not be surprised. I would be shocked, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're working on these kind of things. This is a prime, great opportunity for them. If I was in their camp, that's what I would be thinking. This is great opportunity. And we've seen what's been going on in Los Angeles, and how it leads so many soldiers and security away. It weakens other areas. This could be very dangerous time for your nation.
Yeah, indeed it is. Now, may I, without being offensive, because it's not personal between you and me, but can I just have a moment here where I again come back to Benjamin Netanyahu? You guys know I ranted on 2 different occasions about Benjamin Netanyahu before October 7th, fearing that he was not taking the security of his country safe enough and too busy kissing the ring of the White House, Biden at that time. And then after that, October 7th happened. I also ranted a couple weeks ago that I felt like at some points, the Israeli government is really, really bad at PR. They stink at it. Look, I've been doing this 35 years. As a whole, if I were going to give the Israeli government a grade for public relations, I would give them at best a C, maybe a C- or a D. And one reason why is because with all of the money they apparently have, and Israel is a very wealthy country, they don't seem to talk about the Balfour Declaration, the San Remos Conference. They don't seem to talk about all the things they have in their history that shows that the international community said this was the right of the people, that they were not occupiers. But they hardly ever talk about these things, right? There's so much they do that's poor. You guys got a brand new ambassador. I haven't seen him from anywhere. I don't know why he's here. Why is he here? He should go back to Israel. We spent 2 to 3 months trying to get an answer from his consulate for an interview, and all they had to do is say, thank you. We're glad you're coming to D.C., but we're too busy. Maybe we can do it in the future. Here's our contact. Here's who you should talk to. I mean, you know what? Our country's a lot bigger than yours. You're about the size of New Jersey. And our White House got back to us in a matter of hours and said, here's your press passes. You're welcome. We recognize you as a reporter. Come on in. Same thing on Capitol Hill, and people confirmed. Your ambassador's office couldn't respond to multiple phone calls, multiple emails over 3 months to say, oh, you're a Zionist Christian radio network with 74 stations that wants to talk about Israel? Well, our ambassador's not available, but here's an associate ambassador. We want to get our message out. Your country stinks at this job. They should hire me to do their PR for them. And one of the worst people in your PR department is your own prime minister. He's horrible. He's horrible. And this is the kind of garbage I'm talking about. This is 2012, this picture here. 2012. He's holding up a bomb, a picture of a bomb, and the fuse is lit at the UN, and he draws the red line, and he says, that's the red line when they're above 90%. 2012. We've been hearing about this for 40 years from your country. And you know what? I know it's not your fault. You have your issues with your government. I have my issues with my government. I have issues with your government. You should have issues with my government with the way they've treated your country, including not letting the USS St. Louis stop here and let a lot of Jews off who had to then be shipped back to the Europe to die in the Holocaust. So your country should have some issues with us as well. It's a two-way street. So let's talk freely, particularly since this could create war and put our boys on the ground, God forbid. But your guy's talking for 40 years, and certainly since 2012, about this red line. And this guy went out of the office of being prime minister, and then he comes back in again. It's the same song and the same dance. And if you go out there on social media, Americans that are clued in are sick of it because it feels like a guy crying wolf. And we all know they've already got the bomb. The question is how many? We know they have a nuclear weapon, okay? So why now? They haven't used it up till now. Why do we need to go to war if they have one, and we know they do, and they haven't used it? Why is your prime minister lying to us? He knows they have the bomb. I'm tired of his lies. That's my opinion. But I'm tired of this theatrics going to the UN in 2012, drawing this red line, and now, wanting to get us involved. I've got a son, 2 of them, that are draft age. So there's a reason I get a little angry with Benjamin Netanyahu. And if he could finally just finish and go away, we never heard from him again, the world would be a better place. And that's coming from a staunch Zionist. No wonder half your country hates him. Now it's your turn.
Well, thank you for that, Brennan. And I'm not I'm not offended because I know you love Israel.
Yes.
You are, and yeah.
And your prime minister is not doing what's best for the Jewish people.
You mentioned the bad PR that we do. I think the 2 best PR people for Israel in the last number of years have both been Americans. One was Nikki Haley when she was the ambassador, the United States ambassador to the United Nations. She was unbelievable, the work that she did. And the other person I'm referring to is the current ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee.
Yes.
Great speakers and advocates for Israel. And you're right, we are not winning in that area. We're losing badly. Actually, some people say Bibi Netanyahu would be best. Even his late father, I think, said he would be best at being just a speaker, meaning pull out of being prime minister. You be the ambassador to the United Nations. You be the ambassador to the United States. He is a great speaker, but it's deeper than that. It's deeper than that. When I think of God's word, which warns when a king comes to power, he is not to increase in horses, in gold, and in women. And the reason why is because when you make alliances or allegiances with these 3 areas, when you make a deal with a foreign king, they give you either one of their daughters, or they give you gold, or they give you horses. It can affect the performance of the king. I sadly have to say, I think Bibi Netanyahu, just like Donald Trump when he was in the Middle East a few weeks ago, he came back to America with $1 trillion in his pocket, but I fear that he might have sold America's soul a little bit.
Wow.
In doing.
See, we can talk about both our leaders, and you guess what? I agree with what he just said. We'll be right back. We live in uncertain times. In fact, we live at a time when our own governments all over the world are warning us that there could be big problems with our power grid. World War III seems to be right on the horizon. Let me ask you this. Do you have a satellite phone? Should communications go down with cell towers? Do you have a satellite phone to get a hold of that college student or your spouse who travels, whatever it might be, to get a hold of your senior adult parents? We have satellite phones at worldviewtalk.com, and you get the satellite phone for free when you sign up for their very reasonable payment programs for the service. Sign up for the service with a reasonable contract, get the satellite phone for free. Worldviewtalk.com. You'll also find they have, well, what I now have, which is a solar generator. Yeah, I have a gas generator, an LP propane generator, but what if that goes down? I want to back up to my backup. So I now have a solar generator as well. You'll find them at worldviewtalk.com. Check it out today, worldviewtalk.com. Glad you are with us, Worldview Radio, our website, worldviewradio.com. Here's another example. IDF expresses IDF exposes Hamas's systematic misuse, theft of humanitarian aid. Now, your ambassador should be on every podcast, every show that anyone would have him on talking about this, because Hamas does a pretty good job with their PR and lies. But I know the old saying, a lie can make its way around the world before the truth can get its pants on, right? And that's what's going on. I mean, truth can't get out of the bed and get its pants on, and the lies made it all the way around the world. So I understand that. But this is what's going on out there, is that IDF killed a bunch of these poor people in Gaza, and yet we know it's Hamas. Now, the IDF, you know, I follow some of their feeds. They do a pretty good job in getting some of this stuff out. I just don't see your spokespeople doing it as quickly. Now, let me ask you this before we move to some good news, and that's with the red heifers and some really cool pictures that Aaron has sent over. We'll tell you about for those on radio. What's the latest you're hearing as far as, you know, are your hospitals? We're hearing your hospitals are getting ready for mass casualty events. We're hearing there are planes flying. You guys are practicing. What are you seeing or hearing that maybe gives you a time frame if an attack on Iran's even coming?
Well, the same thing happened a year ago when we were facing a similar situation just before Iran sent 300 ballistic missiles. Some underground car parks and buildings have been transformed into portable hospitals. Mm-hmm. All the cars have been cleared out, and they are ready with beds and drip systems and blood banks and all of that. Definitely, this is going on. People have their supplies ready. And I think you quoted earlier, the American embassy has even warned their staff workers in Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and Beersheba not to go to other cities. Now, I don't know why they said that, but maybe they have some intelligence. So in any event, we are definitely on the alert. It's one of the things, Brandon, like I said before at the beginning, we've been at this rodeo many times, at this stage many times. When is it going to happen? The public are getting worn out, worn down. Are we going to do it or not? And the relationship between Bibi and Trump is really interesting. I think Trump is holding all the keys. And I don't know whether if Bibi had the free rein, what he would do. I know people in his coalition are saying enough is enough. Let's just get it over. Let's do something. And some of the public, while there are people who hate him and want to pull him down, remember, he got voted in. There's a lot of people that still are very loyal. And I agree with your assessment of many of the things that you've said, but I'm still a loyalist to Bibi. I don't think there's anyone near his caliber and capabilities, not even anywhere near it. He's got a lot of qualities. So I'm a loyalist to Bibi, but I think it could be fears. It could be the worry of the United Nations or the international response. And, you know, here's another thing, Brandon, also. Bibi comes under a lot of pressure, and I know I'm sounding like I'm defending him now. Maybe I am. But he does come under a lot of pressure from Jewish world leaders and rabbis. They are basically saying, hey, you be careful, because if you cross any red line, the retaliation now is not just coming back to Israel, it's coming to us as well. Now, I think that's fair, but on the other hand, you know, we're dealing with evil people out there, people that...
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think, though, a strike is coming? I want to move quicker. Do you think a strike is coming?
You know, I've been here before. All the signs Trump's body language, Trump's rhetoric. He's saying time and time again, this is going nowhere.
Well, he just said today, Trump warns Israel strike on Iran could happen amid Middle East evacuation, nuclear negotiations.
Yeah. Look, I'm starting to question even Trump's will. Does he have the will to go about it? He did with the Houthis.
He's already been given the acronym, Trump always chickens out. That's
interesting.
That people are calling, what are they calling him? Calling it Taco Logan? Trump always chickens out. Okay?
Yeah.
So he knows that, right? So, and again.
That's interesting, Brandon. That's interesting because the Iranians, if you look at how they're talking at the moment, they're not backing down. They are upping their rant against America. They're calling our bluff. They're basically calling the bluff of Trump and of Israel.
So that means Iran knows that this acronym is running around social media. Trump has been asked about it himself in the Oval Office. So
will his now this is sometimes they say sometimes it's good for leaders to have an ego, and maybe his ego is going to get offended, and maybe he's going to act out of that, and maybe that's a good thing, a positive thing. What is it going to take for him to exercise his will? Because if he is a scaredy, a chicken, this is not going to be good, and I'll tell you why. Because Israel's existential, future is at stake here. We know what the Iranians may well do if they get nuclear weapon. Now, you're pretty convinced that they have. Other people also are very convinced. There are people that say no, they haven't crossed that threshold yet. Going back to your original question, do I think it's going to, I wish I could say, but.
Well, all your family and friends are getting ready for.
Everyone is getting totally ready.
They're getting their food, their water.
Our Air Force are getting ready. Our Navy are getting ready. Our ground troops have been ready, have been called up weeks ago. Food, supplies, hospitals. We're on edge. Believe me, we're on edge.
Yeah, I bet you are. All right, let's try to find some good news. Here's a picture, radio audience, that Aaron sent me.
That was just today, Brandon.
That was just today. And is that our media badge you're wearing there, or is that someone else's media badge?
That's my tour guide badge.
Oh, your tour guide badge. All right. He also has a media badge from us. I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm counting 7 red heifers in there. Is that all 7 of them?
I believe so.
There's Aaron standing in front of this. Is that the 7 red heifers?
That is the 7 red heifers. That was today in the place that they are being looked after, Tel Shiloh. That's in Samaria. And what a thrill. You sit in a room and you watch a movie all about the red heifers, the rediscovery of the red heifers, the importance of the red heifers for the purification of the priests. And then at the end of the movie, the screen, which is right behind me, it lifts up, and behind the screen are the 7 red heifers sitting there. So everyone's sitting in the hall. They see right before their eyes the red heifers.
So that's a picture of them. That's a video of them, right?
No, Brennan, that's them. That's them. They're alive right there.
So you could step over that. You could step over that little wall.
No. It's a glass wall.
It's a glass wall.
Yes.
Okay. So you can't see. I was wondering, did they? You're holding a water bottle, and I'm thinking, did they test your water bottle to make sure it's really water? I'm thinking, why would they let someone get that close to the red heifers with a liquid? But you're saying there's glass right there.
There is glass there, absolutely. But in essence, they're literally a couple of meters right away from you,
yes.
And they're moving, and you can almost hear them breathe. But that's them, and honestly, we hadn't had lunch. And I was saying, if they weren't going to be used for the future, I wouldn't mind taking them out and cooking up a good steak. They
Wow.
look very, very.
You are harsh. I see. I would be prone to making them pets. See, I'm an animal guy, so I would have a very difficult time because I would want to keep all my cows and give them names. So I'm just kind of that way. My wife.
Well, good for you, Brandon. And let me tell you, they are beautiful. They are the color of their coats. There's something very special and beautiful about them, honestly.
Yeah, they're beautiful. Now, what is this next picture you have here? What you sent me something. What is that?
So this is one of the 4-dimensional videos or audio visuals of the tabernacle. Tel Shiloh is the place where the spiritual center before Solomon's first temple was built. This is the spiritual capital of the 12 tribes. It was at Shiloh. This is where Joshua delegated the lands for the 12 tribes, and it rested. The tabernacle rested there for 369 years. So Shiloh is a very, very spiritual, historical place. And I was right down on the archaeological site, and it was really exciting because there's one place that the dimensions fit exactly the biblical dimensions for a tabernacle. Well, just today, I went to a new place just above it. There's now another place with the same dimensions. What does that say, Brandon? It says over the 369 years that it could have been shifted from place to place. And they found all kinds of jewelry. They found glass, they found pottery, they found coins. And this is strengthening, this archaeological evidence strengthens the biblical accounts of the tabernacle, of what happened there. And let me remind the viewers that on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, that was the day, according to Numbers chapter 19, that the red heifers were to be sacrificed and their ashes were to be mixed with hyssop, with the tallest tree, and sprinkled on the priests to be purified, ready for the service in the tabernacle.
Wow. Well, but while we were showing, we have a big floor-to-ceiling video wall here, and while we were showing the floor-to-ceiling video wall with the red heifers walking by, guess who walked in the studio right at that moment? My studio dog Dolly walked in, and she froze. She stopped, she froze, and she looked at that wall, and she started backing up like she was not so sure. And then she went bolting into the control room. So she thinks we have been invaded by red heifers, and she's not so sure about this. So there you go.
Well, the Bible says that the lion and the lamb will lay together. Maybe the dog and the cow will one day.
There you go. Now, this is a sight to see. He sent me a picture. There's the American flag, the Tennessee flag, and the Israeli flag. Where is that flying, and why is there a Tennessee flag?
Well, that is the site I was just referring to. That is Tel Shiloh, the actual place where the tabernacle rested for many, many years. Now, while we were there, myself and the group that I was guiding, we saw a whole lot of volunteer archaeologists doing a dig, trying to find stuff. And there probably about 80% of them, probably about 30 people, 80% of them, Brandon, were from Tennessee. So, and by the way, the two of the people that I was guiding, they also are from Tennessee. So when they saw that flag, they got really excited. We went down, we started to talk about them, but there is the Tennessee flag. There was a Texan flag as well, but the most outstanding one was the Tennessee one, and I had to take that picture.
And I'm glad you did. I agree. That is the most outstanding of all the state flags. 1-800-347-9829. Your thoughts, your comments, your questions. One of our viewers said they're very concerned about this because they have a son in his third deployment. Yep, a lot of concerned parents.
Looking for a trusted source to understand today's world through a Christian worldview? Worldview Tube is built on the 35 years of Worldview books, columns, research, and high-profile interviews of Brannon Howse. Want to know more about Worldview Tube, its founder, history, team, and mission? Visit worldviewtube.com/about. That's worldviewtube.com/about. Worldview Tube is your source for understanding the times through the lens of a Christian worldview.
347-9829. Yeah, one of our listeners just sent over communication saying that they're very concerned about this. They have a son. He's in his third deployment over in the Middle East. And of course, obviously, they would be concerned. And this is why some of us Americans who are very much in favor of the Jewish people, we want to see the Jewish state preserved. But this is why we get a little emotional and a little passionate here, because we need people thinking down to the boots, on the ground. You know, I know it's, I know we've put a lot of folks in our history as a nation in places where we probably shouldn't have ever been. And then when we send them, we don't back them up. We did it in Vietnam. We've done it in North Korea. We certainly did it in Vietnam. And, you know, this is, again, we should learn from history. These are people's children. These are people's grandsons, nephews. This is oftentimes someone's daddy, you know, little children. So again, we got to be thinking down to the boots level on the ground and not let the world leaders manipulate this situation. What are your thoughts and comments, folks? Phone lines now open, 1-800-347-9829. Are you concerned? Are you concerned about the timing of all this? Does the timing of all this seem a little odd to you? That now they're talking about striking Iran at a time when we're about to have all of these protests throughout America? 1-800-347-9829. Aaron joins us from Israel. Aaron, what's the latest you're hearing? What are you hearing something from your Arab sources?
Actually, the big news about the Arab sources, Brannon, is to do with the Gaza Strip. And the massive news in the Gaza Strip is that there is a man called Shahar who has got a team of soldiers around him, maybe in the hundreds, who are equipped, and they are fighting Hamas. This is the first time in 20 years that someone from among the Palestinian people have stood up and fought against Hamas. And they are holding their own. They're holding their ground. I did read one report, Brennan, that the IDF are somewhat supporting them. I don't know to what degree they are. But this group, they're risking everything. They know that Hamas have got zero mercy to anyone that resists them. But they're resisting them. They're fed up with Hamas. Now, it's also reported that they're not fighting for Israel. They're not fighting so that Israel can come and take over. They made it very clear, because if you fight against Israel, you're a collaborator. But they are fighting against Hamas. So this is a big development. Israel, in a way, may be supporting them, but on the other hand, they may be sitting back and watching them. And these could be the future leaders of the Gaza Strip. We don't know. We're keeping
Let's run the phone lines. Brad, line one. Brad, thank you for calling in, Brad.
Hey, Brennan. Just want to mention that no matter what the weapon situation is in Iran, is or isn't, and compared to Israel's or anybody else's, the biblical God is more than capable of making their missiles miss and ours hit.
Wow.
And the same with Israel. They can make Israel's hit too. Look what happened when Israel fired 3 missiles the last time when after Iran sent a flurry of them and only 3 got through. Israel fired 3 and they all got through. So Iran's got something to think about with that.
Yep. Very good.
And I just want to say, last night you're talking about a little subject change here. You're talking about how the protesters are waiting for us to do something serious so they can squeal to the media. They've already done things that are crazy, and and harmful. When they're dropping rocks and hunks of granite off of bridges onto cars that are driving below them, that's easily as dangerous as a gun.
That's a tipped inverter, and that's why I felt like the other night, I don't know if I said on radio, but on TV, maybe I said on TV, I felt like some of those Border Patrol cars, when they saw that guy throwing bricks at the windshields and side windows, I felt like legally the next car to come along had every right to just run him down. Just run him down, because that is like having a loaded gun. I mean, you're trying to obviously do serious bodily harm or kill an individual. As always, Brad, great to hear from you, Brad. Line 4, Lee in Michigan. Hi, Lee. Thanks for calling in, Lee.
Hi.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. Is it true that Israel has nuclear weapons in submarines, in bombers that are always in the air, always under the sea, always ready? And is it true that Israel has nuclear warheads in hardened bunkers?
All right. The Samson. It's something your country doesn't talk about. The nuclear weapon, the Samson. What do you make of the caller's questions, Aaron?
Well, Israel has never publicly admitted that we have nuclear weapons. They call it Israel's worst kept secret. But you mentioned the word Samson, Brannon. In the 1973 Yom Kippur War, 52 years ago, when it looked like we were going to get driven into the Mediterranean Sea, Golda Meir, the prime minister at the time, the only man in the government at the time, they say, she said, if things get worse, we may need to use the Samson option. And so in answer to your question, brother, I don't know that. And if I did, I don't think I would be alive if I gave a public answer.
Well, we don't want that. We don't want that. Let's go to Randy, line 2. Randy, thanks for calling in, Randy.
Yeah, there's definitely room for concern. I totally agree. But aren't we kind of kicking the can down the road? I mean, these things are going to happen inevitably. If you look at Bible prophecy, things are not going to get better.
No, they're not going to get better, but I don't know that we're kicking the can down the road. I mean, we don't know if we have another 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, what we got here, and we got to act in a way that's responsible for the preservation of our nation as well as Israel, but also we have to think about the troops that we have here as well as the sons that are in the Middle East right now, because again, we've got to be very careful. We're talking about lives here, and where is the national interest, okay? I have to be consistent. I don't see the national interest in Ukraine. We don't need troops there. Our national interest for Israel, we want them to succeed. We get intelligence from them. They're great friends, but I don't want boots on the ground. I don't think Israel would send boots to the ground if we went to war with Mexico. I don't think I'd see IDF soldiers over here. And we shouldn't, because they should be at home protecting their country. We should have our troops here protecting ours. All right, that's my take on it. Aaron is our reporter in Israel. Stay tuned for Crosstalk, folks. Take care. And joining me is Aaron. Aaron, back with WROS out of Jacksonville, Florida, and Worldview Tube. Would you agree? I mean, if we go to war with Mexico and we find out that China, is got tons of troops in Mexico, and all of a sudden we're fighting a war in our border with Iran and China, we wouldn't expect the IDF to send troops over here, and you guys wouldn't. You should be at home protecting yours. We got our own problems here. So we can sell you stuff, give you satellite imagery or whatever else you need, but we don't need to put our boots on the ground. Do you understand that from our perspective?
Yeah, of course, Brennan, I do. Absolutely. In fact, I just got an update saying that right in the last number of hours, the Pentagon have been discussing ways not so much to attack Iran, but to actually how they can support Israel attacking Iran. And one of the ways is helping with planes to refuel in the air, and if Iran retaliate with a number of ballistic missiles like they did last time, that from the battleships and Navy boats, the Americans can help with their defense missiles.
Yeah, and I'm not opposed to that at all. In fact, exactly. I would be for that. But I would, if we're going to help refuel your planes from the air, is that what you just said?
Correct.
We're going to help refuel your planes from the air so that you guys can make it to Iran and back. Then that requires an Oval Office address from the President of the United States. and to prepare the American people for what it is the Islamists here in America and around the world are going to call for, because we're going to have U.S. planes involved. So all I'm saying is, and I have no problem with us doing that part, but we better have a very serious Oval Office address from the president warning the American people, this is why we're doing it, and this is what we should expect. Because I can go to worldviewreport.com and I can share with you today more rhetoric coming out of Islamists talking about America. And I don't understand why these people are not rounded up. I know there's a place for free speech and freedom of speech, but talking about overthrowing America and stuff, we have so many problems. I'm going to play it tonight. We have one of these guys. I think he had formerly come out of the Black Panther. So he'd been a communist. And now he's converted, I guess, to Islam. He's talking about all the military of Islamic soldiers they have in the mosques of America. Does Donald Trump understand this? If not, I'm sure I have some of my broadcasters like Usama, Sharam, Annie would be glad to brief him. But if we're going to do that, there better be an Oval Office address saying this is what we should prepare for as a nation. Would you agree with that, Aaron?
Yeah, totally, Brandon. Absolutely. Fair assumption. Yeah.
All right. So your country, are they going to take Friday off? I mean, it's Thursday there, right? Right now, Thursday night?
It's Thursday night right now. No, Friday's going to be a normal day, but of course,
Saturday. Sorry.
Yeah, Friday evening begins the Shabbat, the Sabbath. But wouldn't it be interesting, instead of being surprised for coming under attack on the Sabbath, and I want to keep this quiet so our enemies don't hear this, but wouldn't it be a surprise if we attacked on the Sabbath?
Would you guys do that? Would your military do that?
Absolutely. Whatever it takes, Brandon, whatever it takes. And this is why what I want to say before, please, to the viewers, please, we need prayer. We need prayer for strategy. Just like in the days of the Bible, the good Lord spoke to Gideon. He told him about the 300. He talked to Jehoshaphat, go out and praise the Lord. They had strategy from the Almighty. Please pray that our leaders would somehow find strategy, and not forget that promise from the book of Isaiah, that the government shall be upon his shoulders. With the fragile situation with our government, with the left-wing deep state wanting to bring down our government, it's kind of comforting to know that the government is on the Lord God's shoulders. He's in control of the situation. May our leaders fall into line. May they acknowledge that.
Yeah, amen to that, and amen. All right, we're going to have more on this tonight. Aaron, I think it's going to be back with us tonight as well on Brandon House Live. We'll get an update from all the normal folks that you're expected to hear from. And so there you go. Worldviewtube.com, worldviewtube.com. Aaron is in Israel, lighttothenationsministry.com. Is that right, Aaron?
Correct, yes.
Lighttothenationsministry.com. All right, be safe, my friend. And again, we ask our audience to pray for Aaron and all of Israel, all the folks there, and for wisdom for their leaders, including Benjamin Netanyahu. And that'll be it. We'll get an update from Aaron tonight on Brandon House Live. All right, thanks for watching. And always, thanks for your support. WorldviewFoundation.com, WorldviewFoundation.com. Till later tonight in Brandon House. May God save America. Take care.